Hello, class! Welcome to Cultural Studies Theory by myself, Megan Doe. So tonight I'm going to be talking about the Cultural Studies Theory, which can be found in Chapter 27 of our lovely blue textbook. Okay, so Stuart Hall is actually the person who came up with this theory, and he's a professor of sociology at a university in the UK. In his chapter, which is, like I said, Chapter 27 of our textbook, he discusses his theory on cultural studies. This theory talks all about the effects of culture in society and kind of what culture looks like in itself. And there's various aspects and it goes on and on. So I'm just going to kind of cover the first half of the chapter because Connor is actually doing another presentation on this theory. So Hall's theory argues that there is a fundamental and ideological difference between the study of the media and cultural studies. In an article titled Cultural Studies, Two Paradigms, Hall talks about where this theory actually stemmed from. So back in the 1950s, there were actually two books written that kind of helped him start this thought process on this theory. So the first book was called Uses of Literacy, and the other was called Culture and Society. These books are some of the first that spent time actually talking about kind of what culture was, what it entailed, and all the different aspects of culture, and it actually gave certain definitions and the effects that culture has on us and things such as that. The definition given in Uses of Literacy, which he actually talks about, is some of the available descriptions through which society makes sense of and reflect their common experiences. Hall never necessarily agreed with this definition, and so he kind of came up with his own, and this kind of sparked the idea of him starting this theory and looking more into it and looking more into what culture actually was and the effects that it had. So cultural studies theory, according to our textbook, is it sets forth the position that mass media consent for dominant ideologies. So another way to put this, according to the University of North Carolina, is cultural studies is devoted to understanding the processes through which societies and the diverse groups within them come to terms with history, community life, and the challenges of the future. So Hall spends the majority of the time in the beginning of chapter 27 kind of focusing on what the effects of media and mostly mass media have on our culture. He stated that mass media shapes our perceptions in society, which I completely agree with because, as we know, mass media and media in itself is a huge part of America today, and that's kind of where we receive our information and things such as that, or I know, speaking for myself, that's where I receive things. So he reasons that the media tends to uplift and highlight those persons in power and uses the media to sustain their dominance. So basically what he's saying is that people that are high up in our society and high up on the chain, they're more in power because the media puts them there and they focus more on them and focus more on what they're doing and what's important there rather than some of the other things, and so they miss out on things in between. By doing so, this tends to shun out or leave out the poor and the powerless of society, and that's kind of where he's finds his passion is. He's really all about the poor and the powerless of society, and that's really where he's going with this theory. So one example he gives of this is that large media corporations tend to rule over tons of news stations and channels, so therefore they're just reporting on what they find to be important. And so if they find something to be important that's more along the lines of people that are higher up and more dominant, like he was saying, then they're going to report on that rather than what's going on with like the poor people in society. So to go more into detail even on that, he gives an example of like Africa. And so what he's saying is that when we hear about Africa, and I'm speaking for myself too, but when we hear about Africa, we mostly think about HIV and AIDS and just the poverty that they receive and the poverty that they go through, I'm sorry. And the thing is that there's a lot more to it, but they don't really report on those things in between. They really just only report on those. So he's saying that by doing that, you're missing things in between, and you're only seeing that country through one lens. So the ultimate issues with cultural studies is not what information is presented, but whose information it is. Cultural studies does more than just interpret, it seeks to make a change. So he wants to see a change to where we're seeing reports on everyone, and those that are poor and powerless, that they're receiving power as well. Although this idea is still in effect today of the poor and powerless kind of being shunned out and left out, it's not seen as much in our society. So basically what I'm saying is that because of what's going on today, we have more of a voice. And now I don't necessarily consider myself poor, or powerless, but the thing is that I'm not dominant in leading in society. I'm not someone that, is all over the news or someone that a lot of people know. And so I guess I kind of do fall under that category. But we each do have a voice now. And one of those ways that we have a voice is through social media. So, for example, almost everyone I know has Facebook or Twitter, but mostly Facebook. I mean, even my grandma is on Facebook and she's like 80 years old. She has no idea what she's doing and whatever, but she still has it. And so the thing about social media is it does kind of give us each a voice. And so I'm going to focus more on Twitter because I feel like Twitter is more of where we receive a voice. So, for example, I can tweet anything and put a hashtag on it, and people from all over can see what I'm tweeting. So, for example, here's a little look of what this looks like. So I tweeted hashtag love and clicked on it, and here are the results that came up. Okay, so I don't follow any of these people, but because we share the same hashtag, which is hashtag love, I'm able to read their tweets and see what they have to say and see what their opinions, how their opinions are voiced on this. Another example of this is one of the trending hashtags of tonight, which is Monday night, which is hashtag playoffs continue. So this hashtag has to do with this popular show, The Voice, and so I'm able to see what people are voicing their opinions on, people's performances or, who's getting eliminated and things such as that. And so when things happen, although there's nothing really like big happening tonight, but when things happen such as like things in politics, then we're able to see those just because we click on those. Another thing is through viral videos, and that's just because when someone does something crazy and they're caught on video, it just spreads all over like wildfire within days, and we know about this. So I've given you a couple of examples of ways that people are given voices and how this theory still does pertain to our society, but not as much as it used to when he came up with this theory. So I hope that this overview has helped each of you better understand this theory, and let me know if you have any questions, guys. Thank you.